Sounds good.
Welcome, Realm family, to another episode of Wrestling with the Realm podcast. I'm Brian, one half of the power and glory of wrestling podcasts, and on the other side, he's the Hercules to my Paul Roma. It's my guy Will. Will, what are we talking about?
Guys, we are finally doing it. We have our WrestleMania 41 review. Um, you know, I'm kind of excited to see what Brian thinks about this one. I think we're kind of in agreement of it,
Mhm.
but um, you know, no need to ramble. Let's get straight to it. Brian, the first match I got is Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Jade Cargill picking up the win here. I think that it was an interesting decision. Me and you in our predictions video both had Naomi. We thought that this feud has more to give, and they're kind of telling us it does. They're still next to each other. We had the tag team match on SmackDown between Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax and Naomi, and they're kind of just booking Naomi kind of weak. Don't you think that she's just out here taking L's? I thought it would serve the storyline more purpose for Jade to go out there and take a loss to Naomi. But give Jade Cargill her credit. She has looked good. She has been better on the mic and she has been great in the ring recently. I think they are kind of just doing what we said, you
Hmm.
know, taking the stuff that she does really well and continuing to put it more and more into her matches. So I thought she looked good at WrestleMania in the ring. Outside of that, it was kind of just a quick match, and I thought Jade looked good.
Yeah, it was a long match for Jade Cargill. Um,
Yeah, that's
Believe
true.
me, we were, the first time watching this through watching it in Vegas, being there, watching it, trying to keep track of what's going on was a really cool experience. Coming home and being able to watch it on the big screen and really being able to take a look at it was interesting because I could remove myself from the fun that I was having of being there. Um, and this match in particular, by the time we got to this match, I was like, okay, check the clock. Like my wife was interested. She's like, all right, let's see how long this match is going to be. And I think it was like 10 minutes total from entrance to end. So it was a little bit longer for Jade Cargill. But she was pretty good. I thought that the story that they were telling in the match was pretty good. If there was one thing that I feel like she needs to work on now is she needs to slow down and
Yeah,
she needs to let things simmer a little bit in between spots. Um, because she's starting to do the thing where even online I've been seeing people do the, no selling with Jade Cargill, and they'll show, the clip of her basically not selling. She'll be down and out and then does a kip up and is, unstoppable a la Hulk Hogan. So she needs to let things kind of simmer between spots that she does. I thought that Naomi had a good match. I like this version of Naomi. I think I might have picked Naomi to win. I really wanted her to, but
hmm
I get why they put Jade
yeah,
over in the
absolutely.
match.
hmm
And I'm glad that they're continuing this story because I do think there is more to tell, especially with Naomi being such a villainous character now. I feel like the women's division needs somebody who slides into that category. So I'm totally happy with this feud going forward. Um, I thought it was a decent match. Again, it was on paper, it was one of those matches you knew that we were going to have to see. Um, and it wasn't horribly disappointing. I was very excited for it because everybody knows I like to take a fine-tooth comb to everything Jade Cargill does and be extra critical. And I tried in this match. Um, but I only do that because I like to be fair, because when she starts doing really well and we say it, I want that to hold some weight, that like we're actually noticing those things. And really, there was only one little spot where Naomi was working on one of her legs. I can't remember which one it was. And Jade Cargill goes into another spot and she's favoring the wrong leg that Naomi was just working on. And I go, nah, I get I'm really nitpicking it apart to find that. Um, but to be fair, I did the same thing in the Tiffany Stratton match with Charlotte Flair because I wanted to see how Tiffany sells and does certain things just to try to keep it fair. And there was similar spots with working on legs and all that, and Tiffany didn't make that mistake, but Jade Cargill is getting there. She looked a lot better. The worst part of that match
Yeah.
was the horrible opening package that Jade Cargill had with the Weather Channel guy
Oh yeah, that was
with the
bad.
storm coming in. It was
Uh,
terrible. You
hmm
know, and that's going to be a continuing refrain, I think, for this WrestleMania, is it just didn't feel like a WrestleMania. Will and I were talking before we came on tonight. I said it felt like a two-night Saturday night's main event. Like, and even that, I didn't feel like there wasn't enough special things to make it feel like WrestleMania. Even with entrances and stuff, even LA Knight, he pulls up in an exotic car, and that's it. There wasn't anything else to it. So, this was another example with Jade Cargill that opening package was just really missed the mark, but it was a decent match.
Well, reason number one, me and Brian are the power and glory of podcasting. Brian will just set me up sometimes for the transition, and he did so perfectly there. Brian, our next match is LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. Um, like you said, I I don't even know why LA Knight came down to the arena in this car. I mean, it just felt so extra. It really it felt like they were trying to make it feel important.
Yes.
But man, um, when that bell rang, man, this is one of the best matches of WrestleMania weekend. They
Yep.
killed it out there. Um, which I know LA Knight has been criticized in his career for being a punchline type of guy. There is no substance in the ring. And he went out there and proved everyone wrong. And did it help that his dancing partner was Jacob Fatu? Absolutely. Um, I thought this was probably in my top three matches of the weekend for the in-ring aspect.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, they killed it. It was a great match. And I believe it is. I got this wrong. I thought LA Knight was going to win. I thought there was going to be a interference from Solo Sikoa
Yeah.
at some point. No, they should have took their notes from this later in night two, that sometimes it's okay to just have your champion lose
Yep.
and have them go over, and there doesn't need to be a whole lot of interference, which we will talk about
Yeah.
later. But right call here. Jacob Fatu needs to breathe some life into this title. Um, I'm not big on long championship runs. Brian knows this. You guys know
Yep.
this. I feel like there needs to be more flip-flopping of the belts. Like that's how you get these numbers like number 17 for John Cena. That's how you get these high numbers. And we don't have that anymore in wrestling. We have long title reigns, like the one that Cody just had. So I'm usually not support of that, but for Jacob Fatu, I feel like he needs a long title reign. He needs to do what Gunther did for the IC title, because before that you have LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura, LA Knight twice, Logan Paul. It's losing its luster. It really is. And before that you have Rey Mysterio and Austin Theory. Jacob Fatu is by far the biggest name
Hmm.
out of all of those guys, and he needs to make this title feel like something. And hopefully that continues. Hopefully he gets a dominant performance at Backlash, which I'm really excited for that match. Him, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and LA Knight in a fatal four way. So a lot to look forward to with Jacob Fatu. Brian, what are your thoughts on this match?
I agree. When I was doing some of our man on the street interviews with some of the fans around there, when I got to the point where I was like, all right, night two is done, maybe we can start finding out what some people's favorite matches were. And my wife and I talked, and I was like, man, because I was trying to think of what my favorite match would have been. And LA Knight and Jacob Fatu was right up there towards the top, where I was like, just when you're looking at pure match, story that they told in the ring, the crowd finally woke up when that match, when those guys came out. I felt like the crowd was a little bit dead both nights. A little bit better night two, but night one they were particularly dead, and then I feel like they woke up a little bit once it was Jacob Fatu and LA Knight. Shocking that it was a clean win. Like that was something that I wasn't picking. I know you weren't picking that. I thought for sure Solo Sikoa was going to get involved just like you did. So it was really interesting to see Jacob Fatu go over clean. And it's one of those rare times where I feel like he did it definitively, but I also don't think that LA Knight got buried at all in that match because he put on a good match. And
Hmm.
there was a couple of times. It was one of those matches, um, maybe one of the matches of the weekend goes back to NXT and Stand and Deliver with Obafemi. That match was great with um, Javon Evans was just killer in that match, and it was one of those where there was certain points in that match where you actually thought Evans can win, and this match had the same thing where there was plenty of times where you actually thought LA Knight was going to pull out the win, and then he
Hmm.
didn't. But I thought they did a good job in the ring. It was one of my favorite matches of the whole weekend, and I kind of like where we're going now with Jacob Fatu as the U.S. champion. I think that belt will mean more now.
Yeah, absolutely. That BFT counter, holy,
Yes. Yeah.
it looks it
Yep.
looks even better in slow motion.
Yep.
Um, as they replayed it after the match, man, the timing in that match between
Yep.
those two, makes me excited. You take two of the better matches from WrestleMania weekend. I'm sure you have thoughts on the street fight, but
Yes.
you take two of the better matches, and now you make it a fatal four way. That match is going to burn the house down. That is going to be a
Yeah.
great match. But unless you have any other thoughts, we can move on. Um, let's just I got two matches we can kind of just get out of the way. El Grande Americano versus Ray Phoenix. Do you have any thoughts on this? I thought it was good work rate between the two. They didn't get a lot of time, but it was a good match, you know?
It was I know you do too. We both love El Grande Americano.
Yeah.
Like I'm a sucker for this old school shenanigans that the villains do. And I kept saying all weekend to my wife, I'm like, when they do a mask versus mask match and that mask comes off of El Grande Americano, it cannot be Chad Gable. And like they have to do that because it would be so good. I feel like there's a lot of legs with this story. It's kind
Hmm.
of silly, but it's also fun because it puts such a great spotlight on all the luchadors, which I think sometimes, they fall through the cracks or because it's Rey Mysterio, everybody goes, well, it's Rey Mysterio. I feel like putting El Grande Americano in there is getting that whole division a chance to shine, which makes me really happy. And I think Ray Phoenix did great. He's better than Penta. Everybody knows my feelings on Penta. Ray Phoenix is a lot of fun to watch. It's entertaining. And I would be curious to know how much of that match they changed after Rey Mysterio got hurt on
A ton of
SmackDown. Because if you really think about it, if that match clearly was set up for a Grande Americano and Rey Mysterio gets hurt Friday night. Ray Phoenix and Americano have to put a match together for WrestleMania the next night. So I'm sure a lot of the stuff what was similar, and they had to insert a couple different spots to fit fit Ray Phoenix. I thought they did a great job of that. I think
Yeah.
both of those guys deserve a lot of credit for being able to put that match on and looking really, really good. It was another great match. Again, it didn't feel like a WrestleMania match, and that was a problem with this WrestleMania that nothing felt like it was the grandest stage of them all. Um, and this was one of those that I felt like we could have seen it on Raw or SmackDown. I'm glad that we got to see it, but it just didn't feel like a Mania match.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and that transitions us to our next match. Um, I have in my notes for this match, the New Day defeats the War Raiders.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. I feel like we can move on. Like
Yeah.
that match was, yeah, boring. Um,
It was another match that didn't feel like a WrestleMania match.
yeah,
It was so weird that we had the tables, ladders, and chairs with on
God,
SmackDown
don't get me
after.
started.
Like it was the weirdest, it was the weirdest booking
I'll
in the
go for
tag division.
20 minutes. I'll go for
Yeah.
20 minutes on how that division got done so wrong. And I don't want to hate on them too much. The War Raiders are great and the New Day are
Yeah.
great. It was a good match that I could have saw on Saturday night's main event.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And that's again, that's not to give any disrespect to anybody, but there was nothing about it that made it feel big like WrestleMania big. And that's a shame. It's really a
it
shame
is.
for the show.
It is, especially when you had another match that did feel WrestleMania big on a
Hmm.
Friday night.
Yep.
Um, but let's just move on to a match that was WrestleMania big. Jey Uso defeats Gunther finally to become the new World Heavyweight Champion. I want to say that I am extremely happy for Jey Uso. He has been in the controversy a lot, and he is still under fire. There's no one the internet wrestling community puts in more hate than that guy.
Mhm.
Um, but I think he deserves it. He's had a great year in 24. Um, and there's no one more over right now than him. He is he is great to me. I'm a big Jey Uso guy. So I thought the match was okay. I think they've actually had better matches before, but it was kind of a finisher fest at one
Mhm.
point. And I thought it was a bold decision for Gunther to tap out. Um, but felt like this match was missing a stipulation, maybe. I don't know how you feel about that. Um, he almost killed Jimmy Uso, which, by the way, Jimmy Uso is back on SmackDown walking on 2 feet, no scars after that. Um,
Gotta love wrestling.
gotta love wrestling, man.
Yep.
But outside of that, I think they're doing some interesting stuff with Gunther now post championship reign. He is wrestling Pat McAfee. I can tell you guys where that's probably going, but we'll save
Yeah.
that for another episode. Um, Someone's coming back, and his name rhymes with Oldberg,
Hmm.
so
His
he.
name rhymes with ending Bret Hart's career.
Don't get Bret Hart started on that,
His name
please.
rhymes with William Regal schooled me in a match once.
I'm sorry, Goldberg. You didn't deserve that. Maybe you did. Who knows? Um, but yeah, I'm happy for Jay. That was overall, it was a good, like, they had that match first, night one, because they wanted a great feel good moment for all the fans. And interesting to see where Jay takes this in the future. He has got a feud versus Logan Paul. And I know people are not going to want to hear this from me right now. This is easily a feud because I think that they can flip flop champions. What if Logan wins it? And then people realize how good they had it when Jey Uso was champ for 28 days, and then he can win it back. Who, like, it's not a bad thing to flip flop titles. They did it in the 2010s all the time.
Yep.
And they really did it in the Attitude Era all the
Oh God,
time.
the Attitude Era, every single week, a championship was changing hands. It was too much.
Yeah.
Russo loved him some changing title hands. I think now is the time where we can get into a right rhythm with that, and especially with that championship. You're not going to do it with the undisputed championship so much. So this world championship, I think, is the one that you can have change hands on a more frequent basis,
Yeah, and
if
I
that
think you
makes sense. I feel like this is
oh,
the right title to do it with.
and it does make sense. And you have the perfect champion, the lovable babyface who's
Yep.
better out of the chase than he is as the champion. And you can have him win it right back at the next pay-per-view, and that's how you start to build Hall of Fame careers. You're going to struggle to do that when you put a belt on someone one time for 500
Hmm.
days. Jay shouldn't hold this belt for more than 2 months. I'm sorry, and I love Jey Uso, and he can win it back later. Yeah, don't. I struggle with the long title reigns, so but I'm excited for Jay to be champion. It was an okay match, and it was a great opener. Do you have any thoughts on the match itself?
Yeah, I feel like it was obvious that they were going to start night one with this match. Um, Again, it's never going to not be funny that uh, we have Royal Rumble winner Jey Uso, and he's still not so main event Jey Uso at
Yeah,
WrestleMania.
I know
Like,
it's
like
crazy.
it. There is a level of irony when he comes down for his entrance, and we see all the main event Jey Uso he's got on there, and it's kind of funny that it's like you're starting the show though. So
Yeah,
there, that is a little funny, but it kind of fit with this WrestleMania because this whole WrestleMania is a little bit funny. It just never, I'm gonna say it for almost every single match that none of it had a big feel for WrestleMania. And this match with Jay and Gunther, it was one that I think I was hyped up for a lot right after Royal Rumble, and it really died off with the build up to WrestleMania. And they tried to save it and they tried to pull it up from that dive, and I thought they did an okay job. It was a decent match. You're not going to hurt Gunther by having him tap out. I get the story that they were trying to tell, that they were trying to tell this story of the bully and the person who gets bullied, who's not afraid anymore, and the bully is just the biggest coward. And, of course, because Jay gets him in his, submission sleeper hold, he taps out immediately because he's a coward. So I get the story that they were trying to tell in the match. Just the build up to it was so clunky that it just never felt like it got traction. But I feel like now post WrestleMania, we're trying to get Jay back on the right path here with this championship going forward. And you have Gunther doing whatever it is he's going to do to take some time off. He was eating schnitzel recently on social media, so I'm jealous. So I'm guessing he's getting some time off. Whatever they're going to do with him and Pat, I'm always the one who mentions. I always like to bring up the commentary teams on here. Michael Cole is doing Michael Cole things. Wade Barrett is running the show and is great. And Pat is starting to not be as cutesy to me as it was a few months ago. I don't know how you feel about that, but I felt like in particular on night one, he was really doing the Gorilla Monsoon thing, but it was going from Gorilla and he was turning into Jason Bateman's character in Dodgeball, who's the commentator for ESPN 8, the Ocho, where he's trying to be such an uber cool dude bro guy that he's kind of losing what he's doing. He's becoming a parody of a parody, and he needs to relax a little bit, because then when he comes out and has his big promo post run-in with Gunther, and how I'm gonna stand up for Michael Cole and he's the GOAT, and he goes on this big promo that was pretty decent. I go, okay, well, that's not the same guy who's trying to call matches and is being uber silly. And WrestleMania wasn't the place for it. I just felt like he wasn't adding a whole lot. And they're very lucky that they had Wade Barrett here because Wade's really, really good um, to kind of keep everything on the rails. Because I even thought Cole wasn't that good at this WrestleMania. So there was a lot of things. Again, if everybody's picking up on if this was a good Mania or not, you should be figuring out probably our feelings by now on what we think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, it's hard for me after two nights to kind of be like, yeah, Pat's kind of he wasn't great. He wasn't great. Let me start by saying that. But I thought his promo on Monday was
Yeah.
great. I thought maybe his idea was this is WrestleMania. I'm going to be the most exaggerated version of myself I can be because there is more eyes on the product. And maybe that's what they wanted from him. Who knows? I didn't think he was bad on Monday though. He was kind of more normal, Pat.
Yeah.
Um, so I am kind of on the fence with you, but I'm not ready to jump over just yet. I still love Pat McAfee.
Hmm.
Um, and that's because I kind of liked him when he was a football player too,
Right.
growing because there's nothing like a special teams player with a little bit of swag to him.
Yes.
So it will be hard for me to turn on Pat McAfee. It would take him doing some
Yeah.
bad commentary
I
at
mean, you
multiple
were kind of picking
points.
up on the same thing that I was, that when you take the two nights of WrestleMania and then you compare that once we got back to Raw, he seems to settle in more during Raw for whatever reason. For the two nights for WrestleMania, I just felt like he was standing out so much and not in a good way. And I
Mhm.
don't, it was weird. And I hope that he doesn't make that a habit. I don't know
Yeah.
if maybe it's because when you get Wade in there, now you have three personalities. So it's a little bit harder for him to maneuver maybe with what he wants to do. Um,
Mhm.
but it was just something that I picked up. I always like to shout it out when those guys are killing it. So it's only fair to say when I noticed that it felt like they were being a negative. So yeah.
No. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Um, yeah, I mean, three-man commentary tables are always tough. There's a reason they went away from it.
Yeah.
And hopefully Pat just kind of I feel like you said it, Michael Cole was off of his game.
Yeah.
He usually, if Pat's on the deep end,
Yep.
he is the lifeguard. He will go and save Pat from the deep end.
Yep.
And it felt like he wasn't there for that. Um, you said it, and I want to touch on it. The build to this match was not as good, and I feel like that's on WWE. And I will transition to our next match when talking about it.
Hmm.
Um, what are we doing? It was a whole 2 months almost for a WrestleMania build to a match. He waited 1 week after he won the Rumble to choose Gunther. No suspense from the Elimination Chamber. And it felt like it was so drawn out for one match. And why was WrestleMania 2 weeks into April? Who knows? But I feel like that long stretched out feud for them was really tough to span it along over that much
Hmm.
of a time period. And I feel that same way about Tiffany Stratton
Yep.
versus Charlotte Flair. I think this feud was bad. No, I just felt like it was long. It was super long. And the only thing that saved this feud is the fact that it was extremely personal and extremely
Hmm.
awkward and
Yep.
weird. And I felt the same way about the match, honestly. It was a little bit weird. It was just kind of not the best performance from the two that they probably could have done. I mean, I thought this was Charlotte and Rhea part two.
Hmm.
Like, that's one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time on the men's or the women's side. And I don't know what to say. it was kind of just a kind of stiff match, kind of a stiff worker
Hmm.
from Charlotte Flair, especially, which she is known to do when she doesn't like what's going on and she knows that the result is not in her favor. She'll just be as stiff as possible and not sell as much as she can. I like the Tiffany Stratton entrance. I will say that.
Yeah.
Thought the Barbie theme was perfect
Yep.
and done really well. That was probably the highlight of the match though for me. Tiffany Stratton won. That shocked me a little bit. I always say death taxes and Charlotte Flair coming back from injury and winning a title. That didn't happen this time. It shows the faith that this company has in Tiffany Stratton, and rightfully so. She's amazing. And now she's moving on to a feud with Nia Jax, and I mean, same stuff for her, but hopefully she can kind of start now a new version of her title reign after she
Hmm.
has gotten rid of Charlotte Flair.
Yeah. Um, Clunky, I think, is the word that I was using for this match. Uh, Tiffany's entrance, one of the few entrances that felt like a WrestleMania entrance. I thought it was awesome. Uh, I thought she seemed excited to be there, and the match itself just felt clunky. There was a lot of times where it felt like those two were just having a little bit of miscommunication that they were I don't want to say butting heads because they still went out there and put out a good match, but there was a few times where it seemed like somebody wanted to zig and the other person wanted to zag, and they
Yeah.
had to take an extra beat and then get back onto what they were doing. Um, but I'll revert back to what I think I said in our predictions video. I had Tiffany going over simply for the fact that I think that this buildup didn't work and they just want to cut their losses. They want to move on from the Tiffany Stratton Charlotte thing and um, go in a different direction. They got this one that they wanted, but instead of having a longer feud continue, they decided it's not really working with these two, so let's just call it. And that's what it felt like they did. Again, it was a clean win again. So Tiffany gets a clean win over Charlotte. Again, it's not going to hurt Charlotte, but you also show that Tiffany is a strong champion. Now we
Mhm.
can move forward. So all of that made sense to me. Like that whole thing, that all went exactly how I figured it probably, excuse me, it went exactly how I figured it probably would. So I wasn't really surprised by it.
Well, Brian, moving on to probably maybe the match of the entire WrestleMania weekend. We have Seth Rollins defeating Roman Reigns and CM Punk. And I want to note something very quickly because at the end we obviously have this amazing turn and swerve that we kind of saw coming,
Yep.
but on top of it, we thought there was more coming after it.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to note that the work rate between Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk was phenomenal. This match before the turn was a 40-minute
Yep.
triple threat classic. And me and you said it, Brian. This triple threat did not feel like the most important thing ever. I think me and you were both just a little like focused on the storyline, and we forgot how these three are so
Yeah.
amazing in the ring. And sometimes as wrestling fans, it's hard to just kind of take a step back and remember stuff like that because I think Seth was great. Roman played the perfect powerhouse in this match. The in-ring storytelling was phenomenal. I mean, looking back at the match when they pump faked the little Shield reunion on
Mm-hmm.
CM Punk, and Seth was like, "Roman, come on, like one more time, let's
Yep.
do it." And then Roman just Superman punched him and then power bombed. I think it was Punk through the table, and it just kind of officially like breaking, showing Seth that he doesn't have any control over him anymore. Um, I thought was great, and CM Punk might have been my MVP this match. And
Yeah.
I am super as a huge WWE guy, super critical of CM Punk.
Hmm.
I thought he had the best work rate in the whole match, and that was impressive because during his time in AEW, he did not look good in the ring. So for him to come back and have all these amazing matches and then have this match, Brian, I'm ready to say I'm a CM Punk fan. And it is
Yay.
a long time for him to win me over. But man, his mic work has been the best of his whole career. Think about that. The best of his whole career. He is cutting banger promos. And his work rate is just up to par to his old stuff. Back when he was running around with Luke Gallows. Brian, I might need to put you onto that at one point. The Straight Edge Society.
Ooh.
So shout out to CM Punk, man. He has earned my respect. But Brian, you give me first your thoughts on the big heel turn.
So it's interesting that going into this match, our big complaint was is that it didn't feel like it was a big match. No matter
Mhm.
how much Seth Rollins said it, that it was going to be this big match and it's so important and it didn't feel WrestleMania. I cannot believe that by the time night one was over, this did feel like a WrestleMania main event. And the big swerve, bro, that happened felt big, and it felt like that should have been the big important event of this entire weekend that we followed going forward. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit more when we get to Cena and Cody for night two.
Yeah, Brian, I was excited about the turn too. For Seth Rollins to walk away as a Paul Heyman guy is interesting. Um, I felt like this was the career superstar stamp for Seth Rollins to win the main event of WrestleMania against Roman Reigns and CM Punk, pinning Roman Reigns. Are you kidding me? That's huge for him.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have a topics video coming up this Wednesday, guys. And I am not going to show my hand too much, but I am so excited for this group with Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, and who knows who else? Maybe we'll know by then. Maybe this week, Monday, we'll have some.
Austin Theory, maybe. Who
Ooh,
knows?
I like a little Austin
Who
Theory in
knows?
there.
It is for the future of the business.
Yep.
Just saying.
Um, so I'm very excited. I would give this a double thumbs up, a 5 star for me for a main event. Um, And the unfortunate thing is it might have stole all of the main event 5 stars and they left none for the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but let's move on to night two, Brian, unless you have any other thoughts on that match.
I just it was a really good match. It was probably the best match of both nights.
Yeah.
I feel like as far as story, the workers, the story that they're telling in the ring, Paul Heyman's great. When you go back and you watch when Paul Heyman turns on CM Punk, he looks very broken up, like he doesn't want to do it. It pains him to do it. But when he gives the low blow to Roman Reigns, his face changes and it just looks like he just has so much pent up hostility towards Roman Reigns for having to deal with being his wise man. Like Heyman does such a great job showing you the emotion. Even my wife was commenting as we were watching it that it shows how good Heyman is that he doesn't have to have a microphone to talk to show you what's going on because he's able to emote with his face and his mannerisms And anytime the camera looks at him, you're able to get exactly what he's thinking and feeling, what's happening just based off of looking at him. It's really good. They told a really great story that way, and this really should have been the the whole through line going into Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. Like this should be the big new faction, and if it wasn't for The Rock and all of his nonsense, which we're going to get to when we get to the end of night two, this would all make so much more sense. And it's a shame that this gets overshadowed by a guy who couldn't even bother to show up.
Yep, I can't agree more than that. Let's move on to night two. I am going to right away get through the matches we are not going to have a ton of commentary on, and very similar to the tag team championship match on night one, the women's tag team championship match. I don't have a lot of notes on. Your girl Liv Morgan loses in a typically quick match to Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. Becky's back. That's great. I'm looking forward to her feud with Lyra. It's Lyra's first real feud. Um, but then they win the titles back the next night, and it just feels kind of pointless. Why not have the turn be at WrestleMania? And why not have Liv hold the title? And why is she winning it back if she's going to go film a movie? Who knows? These titles have always been in limbo and they don't know what to do with them. I do believe, though, they have it on the best tag team available, even
Yep.
if Liv's going to go film a movie. They are the record-breaking four-time champions. I love that. Right, Brian, you repping something over there? Oh yeah, that's a t-shirt with some
You know it.
champions on it.
You know it.
Do you have any thoughts on this match? This is your girl, so
It made me so mad. Like
yeah,
I was so excited for this match. And as soon as we get all the Bailey stuff that Bailey is out, I'm like, oh man, Becky Lynch is coming back. And I don't mean that because of, I'm fine with Becky Lynch. I think Becky Lynch is a little bit overrated. Everybody come at me. I know. Um, but I'll give you a reason why. Everybody gets upset at Charlotte Flair because she comes back, wins the Royal Rumble, and then just gets put into this spot with Tiffany Stratton, and everybody was not thrilled about that. And the fans kind of let them know that. Becky Lynch comes back, and we just have to put the tag title on her for one night just to lose it again, just so we can have a big moment at WrestleMania with Becky Lynch winning. It seems so contrived, and it seems so like an edict brought down from on high from TKO or Ari Emanuel or whoever it is that has to have Travis Scott involved and all of that kind of stuff. It just felt like one of those things where it was like, oh, people really like Becky Lynch, so we need to have a big moment for her return and let's have her win because there's no logical reason to have them win at Mania just to lose the next night and have Liv and Raquel get the titles back. It was silly. It would have made just as much sense to have Becky Lynch come out to be Lyra's tag partner, have them lose the match, and have her turn on Lyra after the match at
yeah,
WrestleMania. Why you don't do that, I don't know. Um, it was a super disappointing match. Again, it didn't fit. It felt like the most WrestleMania match that they tried to make feel like a WrestleMania match, and it
yeah,
just didn't. Um, like the whole match was weird. I felt like the way that they constructed it and were telling the story was weird. Um, I get they were trying to do some sort of a story that Liv is afraid of Becky Lynch and doesn't want to get in the ring with her. But there was a while there, Will, where I'm like, oh, we're turning into WrestleMania 6 here, and Andre the Giant, Liv Morgan, is never going to get into the match because it
yeah.
just felt like she was avoiding it so much. Again, I get what they were trying to do, but it just never worked. So it was super disappointing. From what I'm hearing, Liv's only going to be gone for like a month. So it's not going to be some crazy amount of time for this
Good.
movie. So I I don't get why you take the belts off of them for one night just so Becky Lynch can have a moment just to take that all back the next night. It was weird. It felt strange. And again, it's a perfect match for this WrestleMania because it fits with the vibe of this WrestleMania, but that's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more on that. Um, let's go. We can kind of wrap two matches into one, which we usually don't do, but it's kind of matches I don't have
Mhm.
a lot to say on. Maybe you can take one match, I'll take another. Um, Randy Orton defeats Joe Hendry. Cool for Joe Hendry. Happy
Yep.
for him. Dude deserves it. If there's any person that deserves to jump over from one company and be on WrestleMania, it is a viral sensation like Joe Hendry. It was a fun match. And sometimes wrestling needs to be fun. If this was a star-studded and amazing night two, this match would be viewed upon very highly.
Yep.
And I think it was for some people, and some people thought it was kind of stupid. I thought it was fun and it was fine.
I thought it
Um,
was one of the best parts of WrestleMania. And
really,
again, that's take of that what you will, but when Joe Hendry's music hit, I went, "Oh, this is great." Like they're actually doing something that fans can respond to. Like we were saying, Nick Aldis made the most sense for that match. And if you're not going to do that, do Joe Hendry
yeah,
and get people pumped up because it was a fun match. You knew he wasn't going to win, but that's okay because he got to get out there with Randy Orton. It was a very quick match. I thought that for as quick as it was entertaining. And then you get the end where, Randy kind of puts over Joe Hendry a little bit, but he doesn't get to get away without another RKO, which we all saw coming. But it's okay because it felt like one of those genuine moments that we were all happy for Joe Hendry to make it there to WrestleMania. And
yeah,
it was cool that Randy Orton was kind of giving him some props on the
yeah,
biggest stage without, having us break kayfabe too much that he throws another RKO out. So I thought it was one of the better things about this WrestleMania. But that's like saying that, a great part of WrestleMania 9 was Bob Backlund and Razor Ramon because it was quick.
yeah. Um, Let me do a 180 on you. You said great part of WrestleMania. Let me take you to the bathroom break of WrestleMania. Logan Paul defeats AJ Styles. And this match had so much potential. Let me give a quick shout out to both of these guys because
Hmm.
their work rate in the ring is not bad. What is Karrion Cross doing out there? Don't get me wrong, Karrion Cross deserves to be on WrestleMania. Everyone knows this man has been lighting up social media
Oh
right.
yeah,
He
big
has been
time.
amazing, and
Yeah.
I want him there, just not in this feud. He should be doing something else by himself because he is that good. I don't know. I'm speechless. This match made no sense. Um, AJ Styles versus Karrion Cross will be a good feud, but I don't know. Hey, can you make this make sense for me, Brian? You
The,
usually do, but this is a tough one.
the only way that I can make it make sense is if this was on Saturday night's main event. And it would feel like, again, a perfect match and a story that they would be. And I like Saturday night's main event. I'm a fan of that. But this is supposed to be WrestleMania. Like this is supposed to be the biggest night or biggest two nights that WWE
Yeah,
has. It's supposed to be the showcase of the Immortals. And it felt more like WrestleMania 9 at Caesar's Palace. And part of that is because of the card that we got. Everything seems so subdued. Nothing seemed like a big blow off. it seemed like a lot of matches that were just thrown together. And this one was one of those where, again, it felt like, a WrestleMania 6 where you take a Warlord and a Rick Rude or a Barbarian and a Coco Beware. And it's like, what are we doing? I know they're getting on the card, but we didn't build up to this. So it was just one of those where it's like, yeah, both guys put on a great match and they looked good, but like you said, it's the bathroom break match. That's too bad.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Um, let's move on to a match that I think I loved, everyone loved. I know you loved it.
Yes.
Dominic Mysterio defeats Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, and Penta become the new Intercontinental Champion. I loved it. And the fact that he was able to recognize the amount of love he was receiving and he was able to parlay that into a amazing championship win where he runs back into the ring. I think that's stuff that we're going to be talking about for a long time. If we look back on Dominic Mysterio's career, this is the beginning
Yeah.
of a new version of him. They have officially recreated Eddie Guerrero 2.0 because Eddie was loved by the fans,
Yep.
but he never was really a face. He still was lying, cheating, and stealing, and the fans grew to love that. Dominic Mysterio is touching that rare air
Yep.
that Eddie Guerrero is in. Um, and it's just ironic that it's Ray's son that is able to do that. And it's kind of poetic in that sense. Oftentimes wrestling is in that way. So shout out Dirty Dom. This match was good. I know we hate on Penta a lot and we are quick to do so. He was good in this match, and I know me and you were talking at work this week, and we both agree it's because it was a fatal four way,
Right.
and it's because the camera is in so many different places and they're not catching all of Penta's mistakes, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. Um, Finn Balor and Braun Breaker are obviously the two best wrestlers in this match, and they proved that they were great. I thought the in-ring storytelling was a little weird this match. They didn't really build up to the Judgment Day turn where they just kind of started
Mhm.
fighting each other, and Carlito was on the outside and really didn't have anything to do with that. Like he didn't pick a side.
No.
So, but I'm happy for Dom. Obviously, that's a guy I've liked for a long time. It might be the only guy Hank likes more than Naomi. Hank,
Oh, okay, good.
um, he loves Dirty Dom, and he's been saying it for months that he's the best heel in the company. So, heel no longer. He is beloved by the fans and deserved this moment.
Yeah, I had to say those famous words that I know Bruce Pritchard would say would be uttered sometimes in these situations. Dom wins, and you hear the crowd, and you go, "Uh-oh, we might have a face on our hands." And Dom and Liv are both walking that line right now of the crowd is telling you one thing and you're continuing to book them as a heel, which is fine, but it makes me nervous sometimes when we get to this point where you're so dangerously close to being over because everybody likes you, even though you're supposed to be a heel, but the cheering gives a different presentation than when everybody is booing for the same
Yeah,
reason. Because we all boo Dom as loud as we can because we love him. But now that's starting to turn into we're legitimately cheering for him because we want Dom to win. So
yeah,
they're getting to a real weird point with Liv and Dom specifically because they are both, especially at this Mania, you could really tell, even in that women's tag team match. Liv is over, and people aren't booing her and Raquel. They're cheering them, even though they're the heels. And Dom is in that same category. So it's a
Yeah.
really weird spot right now. And I really hope they don't go full face. I've been saying it for a while. You can still wait with Dom. Whenever
Yeah.
that big face turn is going to happen, it has to involve Rey Mysterio somehow. So I hope that we can um, keep that on that trajectory. I don't want them to turn them too fast because that might not be good, but they're starting to have a problem with Dom and Liv because people really love them.
Yeah, 100%. Super happy for Dominic to get his
Yeah,
first major championship. He was North American champion, but
that was more
excited
of a
for his,
goof.
yeah. We're excited for his title
Yep.
reign that he has coming. Um Brian, you said that the other triple threat match was your match of the weekend. This triple threat match is mine. Io Sky defeats Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, and holy crap, this match was stupid good.
Hmm.
I am usually able to sit here and tell you about this moment in the match and that moment in the match that was great. Every moment in this match was great for me. Um, the best type of triple threat match is the triple threat match that includes all three wrestlers at all times. And this match did that. Um, I will point out a moment though, that finish with the super riptide into the moonsault from Io Sky was
Hmm.
perfection. That is like copy and paste that, people. That is how you finish a triple threat match. So shout out these three. I think the right person won, honestly, Brian. Um, it's hard when you have Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. They are on that level of superstar that is a like once in a lifetime type of superstar. So to pull the trigger on Io Sky and to tell people, hey, she is right there with them on that level is a bold decision by WWE, but it hit and it resonated with the fans because she was cheered just as loud as Rhea, and she got just as big of a reaction as if a Rhea Ripley were to win. Weird that they didn't do anything with Bianca, but I think the reason is that she is hurt and she's going to be taking some time off. So, I think that might be why Bianca didn't win. Who knows? We will never know. And I would just want to say that this match is my match of the weekend. And kudos to these three.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, it was a great match. It
Hmm.
was one of the best matches of the whole weekend. It felt like a WrestleMania match. Again, the all three of them really did such a great job in the match. Like sometimes with triple threats, uh, things can get a little bit too choreographed. And I think on night one with Rollins and CM Punk and Roman Reigns, they did a good job too, where nothing seemed too orchestrated. You know, like sometimes you'll be watching a movie and there'll be a fight scene and everybody takes their turn one at a time to come run at, Bruce Lee or James Bond or take your hero. And you go, why doesn't everybody just jump on them at the same time? Everybody takes their one turn, and then we have a couple of punches and kicks. So sometimes triple threat matches sometimes feel like that, but night one with those guys, and then night two here for the women's championship, I felt like they did a good job of staying away from that. And they also told such a great story because with both of our predictions for it, um, I can't remember if I think you picked Bianca Belair.
Yeah, I did.
I think you picked Bianca Belair, and I think I picked Rhea Ripley. And I think you even mentioned that we were both counting out Io Sky. And I think a lot of the fan base was doing that same thing. We all love Io Sky and we all cheer for her, but deep down inside, we all thought there wasn't a chance that she was going to win because it's Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. So
Yeah.
when you subvert expectation that way, it was fun, it worked, and because of the three people who were in the match, everything looked really good. So, yeah, I give it very high marks. It was a great match. I'm glad Io Sky won because
Yep.
there's a lot more story that we can keep telling. It was probably the right decision not to put the belt back onto Rhea Ripley, and it was probably right not to do it with Bianca Belair because keeping it on Io Sky leaves both of those avenues open, plus any ancillary things those two want to do. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they built a mega star with Io
Yeah.
Sky. So congrats to WWE on doing so. And sometimes being pleasantly surprised is not a bad thing.
Right.
Um, and that's what I was with the Sin City Street fight between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. I think they picked the right winner. I think they gave this the perfect amount of time. It wasn't too long.
Hmm.
I feel like they got all their spots in. I think my favorite spot is obviously the Claymore in the corner.
Yes.
Um you have two guys that just thrive in a match type like this, and the creativity that they showed in this match was 10 out of 10. Um I thought it was great. I thought we could have had more stipulations at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think we need more stuff like this in wrestling. And I know it might be a little gimmicky, but who cares? I think it wakes a dead Las Vegas crowd
Yep.
up. This is the type of stuff we need at a WrestleMania to get the crowd on their feet. They picked the correct winner. I think Drew McIntyre is in for a big year. I find it interesting after taking a Claymore to the head in the corner that Drew McIntyre's just on his feet next week on SmackDown. Um, I don't know. I felt like they could have written him off TV off of that. I feel like he needs a refresh. Obviously, they don't feel that way. They obviously view Damian Priest in a high manner, and they should. He's a talent. He really is. But we'll see. We'll see where they go with Damian Priest. I know where they're going with Drew McIntyre. I think he's gonna win the world championship at some point this year. But Damian Priest, I don't know where they go with him. I'm interested to see though. Good match. It gets a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it. It wasn't nearly as much as of what I wanted. I talked about it in our prediction show that my wife and I were both very excited because we were hoping that we would have done something outside on the strip or something like that. And again, a theme of this WrestleMania is I think they never felt like they went full WrestleMania with it. I would have loved it if you're in Vegas, showcase things that are very Vegas to really give that vibe. Like in WrestleManias of old, when we would bring celebrities in or we would do things if you're in a specific town that feel very much related to that. I mean, you could have I understand they don't do this anymore, but what would have been super cool is if you would have done something like they did way back when they do like a Hollywood backlot brawl with Gold Dust and Roddy Piper and something like that. Like you could have had all your pre-taped things at like the Neon Museum downtown in Vegas, where all of the old neon signs from all the hotels and all of that stuff are. It's really cool. We did a tour there last year. Um, it's actually laid out quite well that you probably could have had them fight through there, and then you get them to the arena somehow, and you have them come out after you show all the taped footage that you have of them fighting their way into the arena. Like you could have done something that made it feel a little bit bigger than just what they did, but again, it was a relatively clean win. There wasn't any interference. You know what I mean? And you make Drew McIntyre look very strong, and Damian Priest, I don't think is hurt too much because again, he put on a good match and he had a lot of big spots. So it was a fun match. I just wish that sometimes we would go full entertainment kind of
Yeah.
bonkers, and they didn't do that. And I thought, what's the point of calling it a Vegas street fight if it's not going to be a Vegas street fight? I agree with you that some more stipulations are okay sometimes.
Yeah. Well, Brian, you want full entertainment? Let me give you full entertainment.
Mm.
You ready?
Yep. Don't.
Main event time. John Cena defeats Cody Rhodes. Guys, what are we talking about? Why is Travis Scott getting a 10-minute entrance in the main event? I could sit here and tell you that it was an okay matchup until this point. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Um, I don't even know what to say. I really don't. I was so disappointed. It felt like a Saturday night main event ending to a match. Travis Scott beats Cody Rhodes. Um, I am underwhelmed by this, and I have no one to blame but Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Yep.
Screw you, guy.
Yep.
Really, I'm very upset. Um, you're lazy, and this was a lazy move. All you had to do was come out, and you could have had Travis Scott with you, and everyone would have been okay. And you weren't there. You were on vacation in Hawaii. Don't come back ever again. Please don't. Um, the company just it's not at a point where it needs The Rock anymore, and that's such a sad thing to say. But I was so excited for the possibility of him coming out and to be disappointed. And I think everyone was, and that's the problem.
Hmm.
Everyone is so excited about him coming out, and we get just Travis Scott, and it feels like a slap in the face to real wrestling fans. You remember when I said with Pat McAfee that it was trying to be he was trying to be his most exaggerated version of
Yes.
himself? TKO was trying to be the most exaggerated version of professional wrestling. And it tried to tap into the most entertainment side of WWE as possible. And it sucked. It
Yep.
sucked. And now that is a stain that you have on the 17th World Championship win of John Cena. And that's the most disappointing part for me. You could have had anyone else win that match and Travis Scott comes out, but now it's on John Cena's resume that Travis Scott helped him win his 17th World Championship.
And he had to look happy about it.
Yeah, I know, I
That
know.
was, oh,
Maybe he thinks this is good.
I don't
Maybe
think so.
maybe he's been gone from the business this long that he thinks that this is good. Or maybe he's getting paid enough money to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
Really
I
not.
I don't think he thinks it's good. It wasn't good. Um, Again, my wife, who's a casual fan, shouldn't be watching WrestleMania and be disappointed and say, I didn't build it up that The Rock was going to be here or something was going to happen. WWE, you guys told us that. You guys have been telling us this story that that's going to happen. The Rock didn't need to come out at Bad Blood. The Rock didn't need to come out at Elimination Chamber. None of that was necessary or needed, but by virtue of it happening, you're telling us that's what's important to the story. And I've been defending The Rock, trying to understand what this character is he's trying to portray and where they might be going with this, but I was wrong. In the words of the great Jerry Orbach, when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. And The Rock, I believe, shows up and does what he wants when he wants to, and everybody has to try to make it fit. Because if you go back to the very first two podcasts that Will and I did, and we did our Blue Sky booking for WrestleMania 41, everything that we said could have happened and it would have made more sense. Everybody picture this. The Rock never comes out at Bad Blood. He never comes out at Elimination Chamber. John Cena never turns heel. John Cena comes out, wins Elimination Chamber, and we have a build-up to WrestleMania 41 with John Cena talking about how it's been however, many days since he won a match, how many days it's been since he won a championship, and have him be the over the hill person who told us, guys, I know that this would be awesome, but it's not going to happen. Why couldn't we just tell that story of John Cena winning his record breaking championship at WrestleMania night two? The Rock doesn't have to be involved. If you want to turn John Cena heel or you want John Cena to do something that makes him questionable, you could have told this story. The story of the ultimate babyface who didn't know if he could win another one gets to a point in the match because they basically did it where Cody has the belt and Cody decides I'm not going to hit him with this belt because I'm better than that. It would have been so much better if that spot happens in the match and then later, after the ref bump, John Cena picks up the belt and we're expecting him to make the same decision and he doesn't and he hits Cody and he wins. That's a way that you end WrestleMania night two. The Rock never had to be involved and it has nothing to do with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins and that new story going forward. Because now we have this new power faction going forward, which is really interesting, but we still have a heel John Cena who sold his soul to The Rock. That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just frustrating. It felt like a slap in the face as a wrestling fan. That's all I can describe it is a big slap in the face.
And it's not like as wrestling fans, I know sometimes we get into a lot of trouble with this where we kind of, you know, start to book things the way that we think that it should be and all of that. And me and Will always try to be real clear that when we're talking about those things, we're not married to those ideas or saying that we could do a better job than what the bookers do. We're
Yeah.
just talking about what makes an interesting story. And sometimes when you're watching the product that they're giving us, I can point to times in that match where they're basically telling the story I was just saying, where you basically have two faces in there. Who's going to be the one to break first to go against breaking their rule of cheating or being above that? And that's a much more interesting story to tell for those two superstars without having The Rock involved. And it really feels like from John Cena playing this version of this heel character, which is very unbelievable. It doesn't feel authentic. When he's saying the things he's saying, it doesn't ring true. It's not catching on with the fans because there was even the spot when John Cena is out there and he's cutting a promo and he's saying, you guys have never once said, I'm sorry. And then the crowd starts chanting, we are sorry. And John Cena has to cover and say, you hear them? They're saying, we ain't sorry. And I go, that was clever what you did there, but they're all saying we're sorry. They're like it's not resonating with the fans. I don't think they're getting the response they want. It would have been such a better way to run that match without having The Rock involved. Have Cena do something duplicitous to win and have us all be a little bit shocked that he did that. Then we
Yeah.
can move forward and you can do whatever you want to with Heyman and Rollins and we can focus on them like we should be doing properly instead of worrying about what's going on with John Cena and The Rock. And it makes me so angry because The Rock is the one who set all this stuff up. We didn't sit here with our fingers crossed for no reason, going, oh, maybe The Rock will show up. Maybe The Rock will show up. The Rock was telling us that this is the way that the story is going. And to go on to Pat McAfee's podcast and to say that Ari gave you a call that ticket sales were soft for Elimination Chamber, so maybe the final boss should get involved. Like he's turning into Hogan 2.0, where he's starting to believe his own news clippings and is starting to think that he knows better about the business than anybody else does,
Yeah.
which he does know. He knows more than I do. He knows more than both of us combined, but
Yeah.
that doesn't make him right at the same time. I mean, if the fan response is what it is, that means something because we're the consumers who will pay the ticket prices for that product. You don't have to do everything that we want, but if the fans are telling you something, you might want to listen. And it was just so disappointing that that story didn't pay off. And I told Will the other day at work because I'm such a I I can't not it's like again, I said this on another podcast that we did. I think it was the trip review. I said the rock is like a tooth that's bothering you that you can't leave alone. And you gotta keep messing with it with your tongue because now part of me wants him to show up again and just keep this nonsense going. Because it's gonna get really entertaining when people just start booing him out of the building because they're tired of him showing up. So part of me wants him to go away and just not come back and let Triple H and let everybody else try to tell the stories that they want to tell us so we can enjoy them instead of inserting himself and making everybody else have to burn more calories and work harder to try to make it make sense. But there's a part of me that does want him to show up because it's going to be a beautiful disaster if he does. So I'm quite torn, but this was a horribly disappointing main event. It didn't help Cody one bit doing
No.
it the way
Oh,
that they
God.
did.
No.
Um, I don't know what kind of champion John Cena is. Oh, that was the other thing that makes this not make sense with the story that they're saying with him selling his soul. You have John Cena hasn't changed his entrance music. He hasn't changed his ring attire. They haven't changed the merch that they're selling. And that to me reeks of, yeah, because 5 years from now, you want to be able to have the shirt for the city that he came to that last time because he's still John Cena. We all know that this heel turn, this evil person who's so fed up with the business and wants to destroy it. We all know that that's not going to last. So we shouldn't be playing this game. And it never needed to be that hard of a heel turn. Like it's so frustrating because
Oh.
it just doesn't make any sense.
I don't want to see Dwayne unless he's gonna lace those stupid boots up and do his fake chills that he does. Um, that's the only way that I want to see him again because stop doing this thing if you're going to be 1 foot in. It's not even 1 foot in
No.
either. I don't even want to give him that much credit. But the phrase is 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He's not even half a foot in. But it's disappointing because he's such a legend.
Yep.
Even if he is a quarter of a foot in, it feels just so electric. And just for him to leave everyone high and dry, um, yeah, slap in the face. I keep saying it, but it really is. And don't tell me it's because Elimination Chamber sales are low.
Yeah.
We were there 5 weeks before Elimination Chamber. Don't give me that crap, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does that and then he also comes out and see that's the other thing. Why are you talking? Like, why are you out on McAfee's podcast and you're literally telling us everything that we saw, everything that we experienced, we don't have it right. He really is a good guy because he said, you know what, guys? The final boss, I think this story's done for now. This should all be about you, Cody, and you, John Cena. Give me a break. If that was true, you never should have came out and did what you did in the first place. I don't know what kind of ego trip it is. I don't know if it's he always wants to try to have that stake, that claim that he's still part of this wrestling community, no matter how much he gets into Hollywood. And I said it on our last podcast too that I figured out exactly who Dwayne is. Dwayne is Howard Stern. Howard Stern, for his entire career, was counterculture and did things to push people just to see how far he could because he was just like everybody else. He wasn't the authority figure. But in reality, all he ever wanted to do was be at the cool kids table. And now, if you turn on Howard Stern, he is a much different person and a much different show than it was 20 years ago because now he's gotten to the cool kids table. And The Rock is the same way. You know, you can take The Rock out of the 1990s University of Miami football program. You can't take the 1990s University of Miami football program out of The Rock. Make of that what you will.
Yeah, I'm done with that guy. Um, yeah, very disappointing ending to what is a 4 out of 10 WrestleMania, maybe a 5 out of 10. I don't want to give it a 4 out of 10. I'll give it a 5 out of 10, maybe even a 6 out of 10.
Ugh,
Um,
that's
I,
high.
yeah, I would say five because I can't let the main event ruin all the other matches that I really enjoyed. And I know it's probably a little high, but there were so many moments I was super fond of. It's just the big moment sucked so bad, so bad. It was generationally bad
Yeah.
that I can't give it higher than a five. So my official WrestleMania 41 ranking is a 5 out of 10. Brian, what is yours?
Boy, mine is going to be lower than a five. I don't know how to quantify it as far as numbers go. It's low. It's, in the words of K2SO and Rogue One, it's low. It's very low. I'm never going to watch this WrestleMania again. I will watch WrestleMania 9 more. I
Wow.
promise that. I will put on WrestleMania 9 and I'll explain why. WrestleMania 9 isn't a good WrestleMania by any stretch, but it's entertaining and it's interesting for the time. And I feel like it showcases Las Vegas in the 1990s. And as a Vegas person, for me, at the very least, what this WrestleMania needed to do was to incorporate the city of Vegas into what the show was, and it never felt like it. This could have been in Cincinnati. This could have been in Miami. It could have been in Denver, Colorado. This could have been anywhere, and it wouldn't have felt any different. You were in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world, the city that never sleeps. You literally have a city at your disposal, and there's nothing about this that feels
Yeah.
Vegas. And that's a real shame because at the very least, I thought that it would have had such a Vegas feel to it that for people who like that kind of thing, it would have at least satisfied that. And it doesn't. WrestleMania 9 does that more. So I'm going to give this a 2 out of 10. I thought it was just the pits. It was not great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, I mean, I'm glad you feel that way about it. I think, that it the bad moments were just so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm always trying to look at the positive with wrestling, but sometimes it's really hard, and this pay-per-view made it hard for me. Um, man, but they draw you back in with nostalgia. Nostalgia is quite the drug that
It
because
is.
they're pumping Randy Orton versus John Cena, and now all of a sudden people are like starting to forget about that whole Travis Scott fiasco.
And
So
if you go down the line that you and I were talking about originally, that I was just talking about, where you never have The Rock involved and you have Cena, quote unquote, turn heel by doing something in that match, it makes this Randy Orton match even better because now you have Randy Orton when he says in this crazy upside down world where I'm a good guy and you're a bad guy now, like all of that, it would be so much more nuanced if The Rock wasn't involved because it would be John Cena selling himself out to himself
Yeah,
just to get a record. And that is so much more impactful than The Rock being the bigger fish who's behind the whole thing. And it's so hard to get past that. There were some good matches on this card. There were some fun spots, but because of the really horrible ending with Travis Scott coming out, like that's the other thing. Like you drew attention to it. You guys drew attention to the fact that the final boss wasn't there. Like it was just such weird decisions that were made. Then you even have things you got Stone Cold on the ATV that was weird. You got like there was so many things that just felt like this was a snake
yeah,
bitten WrestleMania.
man. Oh man, you just wait till this Saturday when Fiend hits in the main
Oh,
event. Oh my gosh. If
terrible song.
if that song hits and Travis Scott comes out and slaps Randy Orton,
Oh, he's not going to slap Randy Orton.
I'm gonna feel some type of way. I'm gonna
Yeah,
feel
no, that's no because Randy, no, that I
no, Randy might
Randy
kill
is a different dude than Cody is in that situation. Randy's getting a receipt on the spot. Travis Scott doesn't want to come out and, well, you know what? I shouldn't say that. The Rock said that he's been working really hard.
him. I
And
know
he's
he
a
has.
really big
Yeah,
fan. So everybody just cut Travis Scott some slack because he tries really hard to not try. And he's a really big fan who doesn't seem like he's that big of a fan. But he
yeah,
does have that hardcore championship belt that he carries around. So
yeah. I know. What a WrestleMania, guys.
it was interesting, guys.
Yeah. Hopefully, we come to you guys this time next year, and we are much more thrilled with the WrestleMania 42 results that we are with the WrestleMania 41 results. Um, but I mean,
So let
there's
me
this
stop you for a second, Will, because
yeah,
it's just popped in my head before we go too far. What was a better finish, WrestleMania 41 or Raw after WrestleMania 41? When is the last time when Raw after WrestleMania
question.
hit like that? Where this is the first time in a long time where I go, that Raw was better than what WrestleMania was when we get Braun Breaker and Heyman and Seth Rollins. That story is a bigger story going forward that they're going to be able to hopefully execute without The Rock getting involved than what this WrestleMania was. Like that kind of says a lot that your weekly
Yeah,
television wound up having a bigger impact than your biggest pay-per-view of the year.
I know you're 100% right there. Disappointing, disappointing ending. It left everyone with a sour taste, and The Rock continuing to dig his grave is leaving everyone with an extra sour taste from this mania.
Yeah.
Um, hopefully it gets better. There's still a lot to look forward to,
Yep.
though. The Backlash card seems interesting, at least. I think that's the word I used to describe it. Um, some weird matches like you got Pat McAfee Gunther, you got the Fatal Four Way for the US title. You obviously have Randy Orton versus John Cena. And is there any more matches I'm missing? Or are those the only
I think
oh Lyra
yes.
and Becky.
Yes.
And I think Becky could win that,
Yeah.
which I don't know who Brian's gonna cheer for in that match. He might be cheering for like Liv Morgan to come on just
Not
attack.
Bird Girl.
Yeah, I mean, oh gosh,
She's been better though.
she
So
has been.
she's been a lot better.
Time to cut those wings off though. I just need the Lyra I saw on Raw.
Yeah.
I get that version of Lyra instead of the Bird Girl. I'll be fine. Like she has been better.
Yeah.
And man, this has been a podcast where we have given Jay Cargill her props.
Yeah.
Valkyria her
Yep.
props.
Yep.
What's going on, man?
And
What
said
is
a Liv Morgan match wasn't that great. Although it wasn't Liv's
it?
fault. Liv was perfect in it. She did nothing wrong.
Oh, there you go. There you go. We're not throwing anyone too far under the bus. Brian, you got anything else for our people?
No, I think I ranted pretty good on this one, Will.
No, no, you're good. I do have something. I wanted to give a shout out to something new actually. Um, I've been wearing it all podcast. My boys won,
Hey,
won the tournament today.
hey, all right.
I coach a truly phenomenal group of young men, and they tune into a few of them tune into the podcast. So I wanted to give them a shout out. Um, love you guys. You guys did a great job today.
Attaboy, guys. Well
So little Yoko was in his bag today.
done.
He had
Ooh,
he had two great games. Um, he's a tiny guy, but he had six blocks in the championship game, so he was doing his thing.
man.
So was everyone else. So
You truly are the Mr. Fuji to Sam's little Yoko.
maybe I am. Maybe I am. Also, shout out to the Realm Paranormal Podcast. All their stuff is going to be linked down below.
Yep,
Please
come
go
check
check
us
them
out.
out. Yeah, absolutely go check them out. Maybe something in the future here where we're even doing a little collaboration
That's
between the
right.
families. So
Yeah, Will might be making an appearance over on the main podcast over on the Realm
that's
Paranormal
crazy.
podcast.
Man, that's awesome. So a whole lot to look forward to. Topics video on Wednesday.
Yep.
And then probably on Sunday, we'll probably hit up a backlash review.
Yeah.
Um,
Probably got some more shorts coming too. I think Will still got a couple more things from Vegas
or got a few more Vegas ones. I've
with
been
my
trying
guy
to.
Penta.
Yes, Brian interviews I don't know if this is like La Parca or Penta or who
To be
knows.
fair, he didn't tell me he wasn't the Penta.
Yeah,
So
maybe I'll throw some clickbait out there. You
just
never know.
saying.
Yeah.
He gave a
So
good answer.
yes, he did. He was great. So, obviously, always check out the TikTok. We
Yep.
do great work. And I know I said it in the last podcast, but Brian really killed it out there,
It
in
was
Vegas,
fun.
and it just looked like a blast. Hopefully, the goal is next time it comes to our area in Milwaukee or Green Bay, me and Brian are out there together doing
Right.
some interviews. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah.
So, um, it is going to be another big year for wrestling with the realm. We're only going to continue to grow
Yep.
and get better at this, and we are so grateful that you guys are on this journey with us. So we appreciate you guys and love you guys.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. A big shout out again, to everybody who I talked to in Las Vegas, everybody who took time out to come and play some overrated, underrated. I appreciate it, guys. Everybody was awesome. It was a great vibe in the city. I just wish that the actual event would have lived up to some of the hype. No pun intended with the live-in up to the hype.
I
Um,
love that.
but it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. I'm happy that it was in Vegas. I wish that the show would have been a little bit better, but sometimes with high expectations, we can get disappointed. So, you know
Yeah.
what? We move on to the storylines keep going. This is the beauty of professional wrestling. It's never an ending. It's just a continuation and a new direction. So we'll see where it takes us for the next year of wrestling leading up to WrestleMania 42.
Yeah. And we are excited for it and excited for you guys to join us. And until next time, I'm Will. That's my guy, Brian. We love you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace out. See you guys.
Maybe you could throw this in the bloopers because you talked about that Paul Heyman low blow on Roman Reigns. I've never seen someone hit the low blow and then rub it in after he rubbed in the
He,
low blow. That's crazy.
he
We
was
were laughing about that when he did it. I was like, what is this dude doing? He must have felt like he did not hit that low blow hard enough. So he was like,
he and like just his face though had such resentment on it. Like it was so awesome for Heyman where it was like he understood he was gonna betray his best buddy, CM Punk, and he didn't want to do it, but he knew he had to.
yeah,
But he loved doing it to Roman Reigns.
he
And yeah,
loved it a
he really
lot.
like wiped it on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Heyman had a good weekend. That's all
yeah,
I'm gonna say is that Heyman really did have a really good weekend.
yeah, he did. Really, like what I necessarily want to say. Um, besides,
What what you got there? What you got? It's like I can't
I
see
got.
it. Oh no, what is that?
Oh, you know what it is.
It better not be that song. Oh, it's not coming through.
It's not coming through.
No.
Oh no, it was everybody. It was Fiend by Travis.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
that's
I knew
more
you were gonna do
entertaining.
that.
I was setting that up for a minute. I'm really sad it didn't go.
Oh man.